Podcast Alien Meditation, Episode 3. Welcome to the Alien Meditation Podcast, the program where we teach you to connect with your stellar ancestors and empower your spirit with the Andean philosophy. I am Karen Prieto, shamanic facilitator, instructor, and founder of the international school Alien Meditation. Access alienmeditation.com to find content and courses that will help you in your spiritual growth and your training in holistic therapies. Your spiritual mission is to be yourself. In the previous episode, we talked about how true spirituality is being aware of our existence, planting our feet in the ground. Here, I'm going to talk a little more about that matter, but this time from an astrological point of view. Astrology is a series of knowledge about the universe and the position of each object in the universe that has direct or indirect influence on us. For example, when the moon is in full phase, our emotions are much more sensitive. The menstrual period of women, for example, is more frequent on a full moon. Baby births usually occur in the full moon phase, while deaths of elderly tend to be more recurrent in the new moon phase. The tides also change. Some people are more sensitive than others, but the teachings of astrology are that in some way, directly or indirectly, all the objects in the universe exert an influence on our personality and the planetary events. Thus, we have in our astral map 12 houses that will define our trajectory in our journey on Earth. House 1, that is associated with the sign of Aries, is the house where everything begins, represents the birth of a baby, represents everything that starts. House 2 represents everything that nurtures us. It's associated with the sign of Taurus. The baby, after birth, has to be nourished and well fed to grow. It is the satisfaction of our most basic needs. The third is the discovery of all knowledge in our environment. The child, after being born and nurtured, begins to be curious and to explore the most immediate space of it. He or she begins to put objects in the mouth as a way of knowing things. She begins to play, to feel and discover. The stage of exploration begins. The house 4th represents home, the family, the mother, the maternal protection, where we can take refuge in our mother's lap. House 5th represents the emergence of the child personality when he or she can become a little more independent from the mother, and the stage of adolescence begins, where you want to be a unique person and shine in the world. House 6th is the stage where we are placing everything we learned in previous houses for service. Is that perfection of things. It is the meticulous care of a project. House 7th is where we interact with others. It's where we have our friends. It is where we find our partner. It is what my personal world represents in direct interaction with the personal world of others. House 8 is that exploration of the most unconscious part of our personality, of our fears, of our traumas, of everything that there is unconsciously to solve and to heal. It also represents our sexual libido, our manifestation as human beings that we need a sexual exchange to continue as a species. House 9 is everything that gives us faith, all the ideas and ideals that make us take actions in life. Look for things that go beyond the basic aspects of an individual. It is to consciously seek the reason of our existence and what we came to do in the world. If we have a life mission, if we can do a spiritual retreat to find ourselves, if we can travel, if we can get to know other cultures, if we can expand our consciousness to understand beyond what we learn in our mother's bed about life. House 10 is all that work that is done for the service of others. Here comes the part of community leaderships, of community projects, where not only the benefit of a few people or individual benefit is sought, but also the hard work to help a big community. House 11 is that aspect of innovation and change. It is to see all the past structures that are already obsolete, that no longer serve us in the evolution for our humanity, and to be able to break them and create new structure. That implies being very open-minded and be very different from traditional thinking. House 12 is the expansion of consciousness itself. It is all that supernatural experience that makes us feel in full ecstasy. It is the feeling when we are connected with humanity as brothers and sisters, when we feel what happens to others because they are part and parcel of ourselves, and at the same time we are part and parcel of the monad from which all things arose. It is the ultimate expansion of consciousness before saying goodbye to this existence in the act of death, where our body merges with the elements on earth and become composed for new manifestations of life. This is a very beautiful initiation journey. Until one day, I discovered an astrologer named Pablo Flores, who has a YouTube channel where he explains that there is the opposite sense of that evolutionary wheel. So his proposal was that we don't only see the spiritual evolution from the trajectory of the house first to the house 12th, but that we also see it once we reach the house 12th back to the house first. That means reaching a point where we expand our consciousness to return as conscious beings, where we can fully manifest ourselves as individuals in our reality. This astrological vision resonated with me immediately, because my intuition tells me that this is the right way to make real changes in the earth. When we are in the 12th house, we think through a messianic mentality, where we feel one with everything, and we feel that we are special with a life mission. But at the same time, we are so absorbed in that feeling of expansion of consciousness that we are not able to anchor those beautiful spiritual conquests to Earth. The initiatory journey from the house 12 to the house first is that process where once we have expanded our consciousness, we return as collective beings with a mentality of spiritual expansion, and we are increasingly incorporating into an individual mentality until we reach house first, where we return to be that primal being that has an individual body separated from other beings. And that, through our individuality as unique beings, we are capable of manifesting, anchoring, and materializing all that information that we receive from other houses through our actions, with our own transformation, and with our own individual service, so that we are able to perform the individual transformation in our reality. This is much more interesting than trying to make the changes from the house 12. From the house 12, many people have already tried to make changes on Earth, but other elements have entered that have failed. A very clear example of this is when a young man felt in his own flesh the pain and hunger that people of Germany went through after having lost the First World War. This young man, full of compassion in his heart for poverty and misery, and wanting to make a profound change, House 9, through his convictions and what he considered he could do to improve, he ventured to create a whole project and a community movement, House 10, in favor of those people who he considered needed his help. He even had supernatural experiences and heard voices of beings from other dimensions that inspires him, House 12. Then he founded a political movement which became the Nazis. He was so blinded by his beliefs that through the changes he was going to make, he would create a new world where the people he considered needed his help would finally be happy. This, of course, implying the extermination of many other people who, according to his convictions, were the cause of the crisis. Trying to make changes in society through the vision of these astrological houses can be dangerous. Through this, sects has emerged, movements and political parties where they acquire a series of beliefs about who is good and who is bad, and they move through those beliefs to make changes in society that may not be good because the beliefs that someone adopted may not be the same beliefs that someone else adopted. And when those people try to make changes deep in society through their beliefs, it can benefit many people to the detriment of many others. Thus, today we see people on the right blaming those on the left, and people on the left blaming those on the right, in a tireless war to impose who is right and who is wrong. The proposal of the spiritual journey from the house 12 to the house first is to reroot ourselves and anchor our existence to individual part, to that part where I myself already experienced my profound changes. I already had the maximum expansion of my consciousness, and slowly I return to incorporate myself on the individual level, where I am just one more individual within the many individuals in society. In this way, I humbly understand that everything I acquire in my journey was just my personal experience of expanding consciousness, and that it may be that my personal experience is not the same as the experience of others. Consequently, I'm not going to impose on others my point of view and the way I think they have to act or be. But through the expansion that I already experienced in my previous journey, I return to my individual being, and through my individual service, I can make changes in my environment, knowing that as an individual, I have rights and duties in a society, and that I will be as empathetic as possible with others in my daily life. Then I will be able to carry out the individual actions that I consider appropriate to be an agent of transformation, respecting the individuality of others. And so, with empathy and respect, I can inspire so that others also feel the invitation to carry out that journey from the house first to the house 12th, and from the house 12th back to the house first, so that they return as full beings, fulfilled and ready to have a manifestation and a full experience during this incarnation on earth. And with this, I close this episode. Thank you very much for your time and your attention. If you like this episode, please like, share it, and subscribe so that this content reaches more people that can benefit from it. See you in the next episode. Bye.